Here we go. Time for d4. Cam 49. d4, c4. So he's going for, could be a King's Indian, could be a Grinfeld, could be a Pierce. Looking more like a King's Indian here. And it still could be a Pierce or a modern, right? But normally black or white would have had the move e4, and yeah, so now this looks like a King's Indian. So what to do here? If I put the bishop here, he can't advance the pawn, but he can take. If I put the knight here, he can push. No, I'll take then. Takes with the bishop. I guess if he takes with the pawn and I trade queens, he can't castle and his king is on d8. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but I think it's probably a little bit better for white. So now I can develop normally. I get the knight out, and I've got a extra e-pawn there. I can maybe do something with it at a future date. Okay, since he didn't develop his knight to f6, that means I can put my bishop out to e3 and then threaten to trade off his bishop by playing queen d2. Normally, bishop e3 you have to worry about a little bit because of knight to g4, but he put his knight somewhere else. The knight could come to f5, hit the bishop that way. But he doesn't. Okay, well, he targets this pawn. Let's defend it. I'm opening up this diagonal, so I've got to be a little careful. This knight is pinned against the rook. The queen is tied up defending the knight. But I could just play bishop to h6 immediately, right? He takes the knight, take the bishop. He takes the bishop, I take back. And nothing. There's no problem on the diagonal if the bishop is gone. And if he does something else, then I take the bishop. Unless he has a way of attacking the queen. But I don't see it. There. So this is a potential trade here. So once again, bishop h6, knight takes knight with check, I take back, and still we have that same situation. This diagonal is open, but his bishop is under threat, so he can't really exploit my situation. This line of play against the King's Indian, where white has a fianchetto, is not considered the strongest line against the King's Indian, but it has the advantage that I don't get checkmated quickly. And I think white still has some edge, some slight edge, but not a big deal. That's kind of weird, putting the knight there. Yeah, probably he would have been better off going knight to f5 a bit earlier. Okay, so now I can take this knight, but that would lead to a queen trade again. I don't particularly want that. How about this move? Bring my knight to a good square, hit his bishop, open up the diagonal for my light squared bishop. So I think I have more of an advantage now because of the way black played it. I've got the better bishop. He blunts there. I could bring my rook to the center, threatening to take his bishop and just grab the d-pawn. So neither side has the bishop pair, so there's no particular advantage just to trade off the bishop for the sake of grabbing a bishop in the endgame. Or in the resulting middle game with one bishop and knight versus two knights, it's not such an edge for white. No particular edge, really. So I only want to make that trade. This is a good knight, and that's not an outstanding bishop. It's not technically a bad bishop because it has open lines, but it's not doing a whole lot. But if I can trade it off and grab a pawn at the same time, that's worth playing. Plus it will leave his pawn structure a bit messed up. What else could he play here? Well, what could he play here? He could move the bishop back. He could bring his knight out. I would probably just take the bishop if he brought his knight out. But actually bringing the knight to f5 actually defends that pawn. So I would take the knight in that case. Yeah, he just dropped his bishop back. Yeah, knight f5 didn't work because knight takes knight, and however he takes back, this pawn is hanging. So here I can move my knight and this pawn will be hanging, but I don't have any way to move it with tempo. Maybe I should push forward in the center here. If I play the f-pawn forward, it opens up this diagonal to my king, so I have to be a little bit aware of that. He has queen to b6, but this pawn at the moment is well defended, and I'll have time to step my king to the side, I guess. Yeah, there he goes. So let's kick it again while he has no good square to run to. There we go. Now I can step my king up here, get it away from trouble, and I can perhaps get in the move e4. Just have pretty good control of the center if I get that in, it looks like. So yeah, he puts the queen on the diagonal and prepares to bring a rook to the center. Logical move. So e4 now is a possibility. This pawn is still weak, but I have no great way to move my knight with tempo. After e4, I could consider playing f5, and the exchanges there might allow me to move my. Yeah, let's go with e4. Also, possibly playing e5. So e5 or f5 are moves I can consider from here. He's bringing a knight over to help defend on this side. So let's think about f5. I push, he takes, I take, knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes. And, well, this pawn is adequately defended. And I've won a piece, so actually that's not good for him. So he won't keep taking. I will push, he takes, I'll take back. Then it's defended twice and attacked twice, so he won't keep taking. But what good has that done? It's opened up the G file here if he takes. If I push and he pushes, I can take that pawn with my queen. If I push, it gives him this square on e5 for the knight. So I could push and he could just ignore it and maybe start maneuvering his knight around. It'll take a little bit to get there, but and then if I take, it'll open up the F file, and I'll be left with this isolated E pawn. So all in all, I didn't think that was so great. What else? There's also E5, so it hits the knight and the E pawn. If he moves the knight, I'll take. Takes back. With the queen, so the queen will be a bit of a target there maybe. Let's prepare e5 by playing the rook. So I push, he takes, I want to be able to take back with the rook. rather than have a pawn there. Have to take back with the pawn and have an isolated pawn. Although that's something to consider too. So I push, he takes, I take, he moves the knight, I can push on once more. Knight takes, bishop takes. Not quite. Yeah, I don't quite have enough force there. So I push, he takes, rook takes. And it's his move. I don't know. Yeah, don't know if that helps, but I need to kind of open things up here at some point. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to try and line up on the e-file, maybe queen e3, rook e1. Triple on the e-file. Maybe I should bring the rook over first, but I'm worried about this knight getting pinned. There is a danger. Yeah, maybe there's a problem already. Say he pushes c4, c5 rather. I move the knight, and then he can move his bishop with tempo, hitting my queen. So he could maybe grab a pawn, play here, here, here. So how would this work? Say pawn to c5, knight to f3, so that bishop g4 doesn't hit my rook, and so he plays bishop takes h3. It's my turn, my queen is under attack, and he just grabbed a pawn. So I can move my queen somewhere, keeping this rook defended. Well, it's defended by the knight, so that's not a problem. If I had an attacking move with the queen, probably lining up on the e-file, then he has to retreat his bishop, and I can... Okay, he didn't go for that. And still, I think I should get away from this idea of the pin. Well, let's think. What is he doing? He is going to bring the knight over here, or maybe he's preparing to push the f-pawn forward. Yeah, I would like to activate my knight. Maybe queen here. I'll try this. Queen there to play f5. Pawn takes, knight takes, rook takes. Nah, it still doesn't work. Okay, so he was just arranging his knight over there. Yeah, I'm losing the thread here. But maybe I can still penetrate to e7, double the rooks. But yeah, I'm not getting in the f5 move. He's got that too well covered. He can play bishop f5. I'll just swing my queen around. So he goes there with the knight. Yeah, he's looking in here. That's covered, that's covered. It's double. knight e4, the knight is covering. All right, d4, knight d4, the knight is covering, knight e3, the rooks are covering. Here is defended, here is defended. So, knight goes there. Ah, he's looking at this square. Or so it seems. Let's try and keep that covered. The d4 square. Got two knights focused on the d4 square. Maybe now I can start pushing these forward here. I need to put my king back first, though, because the queen and king are on this nice, nice diagonal here. So f4, g4, f5, maybe. And queen and king are on this dark squared diagonal, but at least he doesn't have a dark squared bishop. So after g4, the knight can't come here or here. Can't go here or here. Has to go back. So he decided to take there first. Should I take with the rook or the knight? Looks like a pretty good outpost for the knight, huh? And I still have the squares covered for where his knight might go. Coming forward, the knight has to go back now. So he chose to go there. So let's bring this knight around to the king side. It seems like the action is on the king side here. So knight takes bishop. Well, he takes the rook with check. Ah, so he finally decided to play that. So I might as well grab that bishop then. Oh, we didn't take. Well, I want to go after this pawn, but if I put my knight there, he'll just trade it off. Got to play a move, though. Okay, so queen, rook, and bishop versus queen, rook, and knight, and symmetrical pawn structure. So probably even. I do have a slight time edge here. So is there anything? I need to back off here, I guess. Because the queen was looking at that square. So he's threatening to take twice on g4, it seemed. Maybe there was some counter idea, but who knows? Oh my gosh, he's going for the endgame. Well, I guess he has little choice. Let's see, I could put the bishop here, but unfortunately he can just take it. Let's go here. My things are all defended, so I don't have to... my pawns are defended over here by the bishop, so I can move my queen away. Okay, so if let's lift the king up first. I was going to put my queen on the back rank there, pinning his knight, but I didn't want his queen coming in with check. But let's do it now. And my bishop is guarding the d2 square there. So he goes there, threatening to come in, I guess. Threatening to take on g4. He's got his eyes on the prize there. He really doesn't want to... doesn't want to, he really wants to trade queens. Now he has the check. Plus he could have considered taking here. Step up. I still don't want the queen trade. Okay, looks like we're going for an endgame here then. The pawn endgame is good for me. Ah, he noticed. Okay. So yeah, let's start pushing these guys forward here, huh? I need to blockade that pawn first, I guess. That was suspicious. He ran out of time and then suddenly had 8 seconds on his clock. I don't know. Yeah, looks like I got an extra pawn there. So, yeah, you want to trade queens at a time when you get an extra pawn. That's a good rule for the endgame. So I'm going to have to sit here for a while until we run out of moves. Ah, he lets me do this nicely. Okay, let's just get an extra pawn over here. Turn it into a queen. Get that pawn rolling. Okay, so now I just need to make a waiting move like this. Eventually he'll have to move his king. He can move his pawns. Okay, he resigned. Well, I won that game. That was a tough struggle. We'll check that out in the post-mortem. See you guys later. Bye.